my name is Kate Fleming, and I work on a project called the Google Cultural Institute. Sorry to put you in the position of the students in this situation, but could we do a hands-up exercise? How many of you have actually heard of the Google Cultural Institute, Google Art Project, World Wonders Project? So 2 people, and you're not Googlers, are you? You are a Googler. You don't work at Google, do you? All right. So I think the Google Cultural Institute is probably one of Google's best kept secrets. So what I want to do today is tell you a little bit more about the project itself. For those of you that do know it, kind of turn you into power users. And for those of you that don't, kind of give you an introduction overall to how this site works. So just a little bit about me. I've been working on this project for around 2 years now. And despite quite a confusing accent, I'm actually a product of the English school system. So I grew up in Twickenham, went to Tiffin, and then I went to uni in America. So that's why you're getting a bit of a strange accent, a bit Madonna, unfortunately. So I want to start by showing you a quick video, which I think will kind of give you an overview to the project in a kind of holistic way. So in a nutshell, that's the Google Cultural Institute. It's a very, very cool project. And I think we've spent a lot of time building it. It launched in 2010 with the art project, and we've since expanded it to cover what we call world wonders or historical monuments, and also historic moments with archive photography. So what we want to do now is tell teachers about it and give you ways that you guys can use it in the classroom. Being very upfront with you, we've been working with teachers over the last 6 to 9 months, and we're still shaping the product as we go. So if any of you are interested in finding out more, have suggestions for things we should be doing, culture itself is really broad, and it's very difficult for us to determine, how do we define culture? Is it just art, geography, and history? Do we cover literature? Do we cover music? So if you guys have any ideas, come grab me at the end. I'd love to talk more about the project. But as you can see, we've used a number of different Google technologies, whether it's maps, whether it's high-res photography, whether it's just the power of the platform itself to create a beautiful website, which I'm going to show you in a bit more detail. So we currently have over 6 million different assets on the site, and it grows every day. You can see a number of featured collections if I scroll to the right on the homepage. A lot of these were added this week, and the further right I go, the more familiar it is to me, but even checking in this morning, this new exhibit just popped up. So there's always new content, and truthfully, I use it often for myself as much as I would if I was teaching in class. So the first project I want to show you is something called Art Project. So Art Project started in 2010. Essentially what we do is we partner with different museums and cultural institutes to take their digital collections and put them onto the site. So just to show you a couple of the different features, I'm going to use the search feature and type in Van Gogh. So if I hit enter, there's a lot of different matches. We have a partnership with the Van Gogh Museum. We have an exhibit where he's featured, and then we have a number of his works listed. The cool thing here is that you can actually filter by a number of different criteria, so whether it's the medium, what kind of media was used, and also one of my favorites is the date. So if you want to look at Van Gogh from 1880 to 1889, it brings up all of these different items. So I'm going to start by clicking on one of my favorites, which is Starry Nights. So for a select number of the works that we have displayed, we've used a technology called gigapixel. Essentially what that means is we've used a very high-res camera up very close to the artwork. So I'll show you what the implication of that is. If I zoom, I can go to brushstroke level detail on the painting. Now, if any of you have ever done a field trip to a museum with your students, what I've found through the research we've been doing is kids are often getting right up close to the glass. They're trying to get as close as possible, at which point security comes over, is like, get away, don't get near the painting. So the nice thing with this type of technology is you can get up close and personal to the painting itself. So I'm going to back out of this a bit. If you click on the left, you can see a number of details, more details, and relevant videos that go along with the content. So it's a great tool for you to prepare for a class, but it's also a great tool for students to have a play with as they're researching a certain topic. So let's go back to Van Gogh. So if I look down through his artwork, I see one I like called Poppy Fields. And this reminds me of another painting, I think by Monet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. This is the compare tool. And that's going to add it to my collection. Now let's see, I don't know the name of the other painting, but I'm going to just type in Poppy and see what comes up. So if I scroll down, this is the one that I wanted, so I can click on this. And I'll also do compare. I can either click compare here, or I can drag and drop it, if it works. Just click compare. And then when I start comparing, I can bring up both paintings side by side and zoom in as close as I would like to see the different treatments on how poppies are created in the different paintings, which is quite cool. And then one of my other favorite features, this is normally the kind of wow moment for a lot of teachers that I've used this project with. If you see up here in the top left, there's the little maps icon, the little pin guy, which you guys might recognize from maps. If I click on that, it takes me into the museum where it's shown. You can see we're on the 5th floor here. It shows me where I am within the museum. I can actually even get a little closer, I think, if I zoom in. Here we go. Perfect. So that feature itself is quite cool. There's another feature of our project called user galleries. So essentially, as you're going through, let's say that you like Poppy Fields. I can save it to my collection. And then later I can come back and create a gallery. So I'll show you that a bit later when I've added a couple more different collections. So that's the art project, really cool. Millions of artworks there right now. I can only show you a couple of different things, but I encourage you guys to all go and have a play. So the next thing I want to show you is World Wonders. So this is our attempt to map different geographic monuments. We've partnered with UNESCO. Let me hide this for you. One sec. So click here to hide this. Perfect. So this is the World Wonders site. I'm going to scroll to the right. So we have Versailles, Stonehenge, and you'll see that as I scroll to the right, it's showing me different places from around the world. So I'm going to show you 2 of my favorites. The first is in Antarctica. So if I click here, we've actually used Street View technology, so the little trolleys that we typically use to map different roads across the world. We've used that in some of the most remote locations, and this is probably the most remote. If I look at the Street View piece of this is Antarctica. Looks quite cold. Probably more cold there than it is in America at the moment. And what you can do is actually click around as you would in normal Street View, which is quite cool. So I'm going inside this hut, which before we had done this, had only been seen by maybe 10 people in the world, and now anyone can see it, which is quite cool. So I quite like that one. Going back, my other favorite one is a very special capture we did underwater. So I'm actually going to just zoom out on the map, and as I do that, internet permitting. All right, I'll just go this way. I'm trying to get to Australia, so I'm going to just do some scrolling and see if I can zoom out. All right, this doesn't seem to be working, so I'm going to go all the way to Australia. Here it is. I'm not sure how many of you have been to the Great Barrier Reef. I've been once, and it was incredible. If you're not able to go, we can check out the Great Barrier Reef exhibit. So we use underwater street view capture for the first time, which is quite cool. So if any of you are Finding Nemo fans, I think there's someone here that I can introduce you to. Here he is. So if I click here, it's the turtle from Finding Nemo. It's pretty sweet. So again, you can have a little bit of a play with that one. So that is, and actually while I'm here, I'm going to add one of these to my saved collection. So this is quite cool. I'm going to add that to my gallery, and I'll have a play with that later. So that is the World Wonders project. Oh. Let's go back to the home page. And then, so the final project I'm going to show you is the most recent. It's called the Historical Archive Project. So essentially, this is our effort to take moments that were captured in the 20th century and create curated stories around them. So I'll just click here, go to Historic Moments, and you'll see we have a new exhibit on the Statue of Liberty. If I scroll to the right, we have a ton of different exhibits. We partnered with the Mandela Institute to create an exhibit around his life. And then one of my newish favorites is around, if I can find it, the Eiffel Tower. There we go, Birth of the Eiffel Tower. So we've created a new way of showing the exhibits called immersive exhibits. What that means is you essentially open the historic moment, and you just use either your arrow key or your mouse to scroll. So all I'm doing right now is pressing the right arrow on the keyboard. So when I press right, you can see that it takes me through a curated story about the Eiffel Tower, which is quite cool. So this is one of my favorites because I was there for some of the shooting of the in-person photographs. It's very, very beautiful. But the nice thing with this exhibit is it gives you some of the history, some of the early materials that were created, some of the initial blueprints. So overall, really cool project. And we have tens of hundreds of different exhibits from across the 20th century. And it's our kind of fastest growing area of the Cultural Institute and an area that we're really proud of. So that is the historical moments piece. So as promised, I'm going to just take you back to the user gallery feature. So essentially, as you go through the site, you can pin different cultural artifacts that you like and create your own collection. And these are actually some collections that have already been created by different users. So when you create your collection, it's uploaded here. I'm going to search for one of them that I like called Women in History. Having a bit of trouble with the connection at the moment. I'll show you one of these as an example, but essentially what you can do is put together your own description for an exhibit, and then scrolling to the right, all of the different items that you've pinned fall within this. So it's a nice alternative to something like a PowerPoint or just using Google Images. It's also a good tool if you want students to put together their own project or kind of a series of images and kind of their explanation for their interpretations. There's a nice way of doing that. So in your own section, what you'd do is you'd be saving items as you went along, and then you would essentially create an exhibit around them. So I would say, Kate Loves BETT is the name of my exhibit. And then I can essentially add text here, and I can add text here that accompanies those images, and then that's automatically uploaded to the Cultural Institute site. So very briefly, that's how the site works overall. It was really only a very brief overview of what I would like to show you, but it's a project that I love, I feel really strongly about. So I guess my request to you guys is come chat to me if you're interested in finding out more. If you want to have a play with the site, I encourage you to do so. It's google.com/Cultural Institute. Again, this is a brand new project, at least in Google terms, it's 2 years old. So we're trying to make it as useful as possible for teachers and to build out features that would be beneficial to you. So we're in the process of creating a teacher about page, which contains all the resources we think would be helpful. But the nice thing with this project is we're really looking for input. So if there's anything that you've seen that you think is fantastic, like and you'd like us to do more of, or there's things that you think are missing that you'd like us to investigate, we're more than happy to do that. So now, hopefully next year, if you guys come back again and I say, who's heard of the Cultural Institute, you can say, yes, I have. So yeah, go have a play, and thanks very much for your time.